Okay, my beloved Madridistas, mwah, welcome back to the channel. I've missed you guys. Okay, this is what happens when you play with balance, when you play with the right formation, and when players are playing in their intuitive positions. We have a lot to comment on last night's match. By the way, thank God the international break is over. Like I say, I missed you guys. I actually took a few days. I took my son to Portugal. We were in Lisbon and Nazaré, a very cool little fishing town where they do the big wave surfing competitions. Great little trip. But again, I despise the international breaks, but we're back. So let's talk about this very resounding victory. And I think I can attribute it to the formation, the location of the players, intensity, and some very, very important individual performances. So let me give you guys my thoughts on the match. Welcome back. It's great to be with you again. Let's get started. All right, my beloved Madridista family, welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, you know, sometimes when you have really horrible critical injuries, you actually make discoveries. You actually learn a little bit about your squad. You learn about the players, and you take some lessons away from it. And I think that's what's happening. Because the adjustments we made last night, I think, were very, very positive. Let's talk about the lineup for starters, because like I say, I think formation is absolutely key here. First of all, you know, it was great to have Courtois back. You know, Lunin has inspired a lot of confidence, especially after last year's performance. But obviously, having Courtois back is a major, major plus. Another surprise, Arda Güler playing on the right. A lot of speculation ahead of the match that Brahim would start, but Arda finally started. I think something that's very, very positive. Fede had to play as right back, but boy, what a right back he is. My goodness. This is an incredible player that can play anywhere. Jude finally playing in his natural position, the number 10 that was so successful last year, going up that middle channel, and participating much more in attack. We saw that again. Again, a very, very positive formation. Now, let me tell you why I think that this 4-4-2 with a kind of diamond is a much, much better solution for us than the 4-4-2 where we're playing with Jude off to the left. That didn't seem to work. This 4-4-2 where you've got basically, you know, a diamond with Jude just behind the forwards. I'll tell you why it's so important for two reasons. One, because having only Kylian and Vini up front gives them a lot more space. And that's critically important because of their characteristics. They're less cluttered. There's more freedom for each of them to switch. And Kylian played a lot on the left yesterday. But that's reason number one I like this formation, the space that Vini and Kylian have up front. And number two, that Jude, as I mentioned, is playing in that natural position where he can come up that middle channel and participate so much in attack. I was very, very happy with the lineup. He played Ceballos a little bit on the left, Camavinga as the sort of sole pivot with Jude in the middle up in front of him. Now, Mbappe actually played most of this match on the left. Vini was gracious enough to move to the middle and to the right. They did alternate on a couple of occasions, but for the most part, Kylian was playing on the left. And Vini demonstrated that it doesn't matter where you put him. He's a player that's going to always make a difference. So I was very, very happy with the formation. In terms of the match itself, from the very first minute, they were on the front foot. So there was a kind of alertness and intensity that had been lacking in previous matches. They were on the front foot. They were very aggressive in the press. Pressing in a very organized way, anticipating balls. They were getting to every ball just a millimeter before the rival. With the ball, I thought there was much quicker passing. Everything was sort of 1-2s. There was no doubt. The player in possession was never in doubt as to what to do. There was much more movement off the ball, so plenty of more people to pass to. It was a much more dynamic look. And I noticed for the first time in many matches, some really good automatisms, right? Really kind of automatic reflexive play, received the ball 1-2 very quickly. The players felt very comfortable and seemed to know where everybody else was. And it was just faster, intuitive passing. I think overall just much more fluid, natural football. And it just felt like they were clicking. So I was just very encouraged in general, considering all of the injuries. I was very encouraged by what I saw. Now, I know Leganes is not a very fierce rival, but there was definitely forward progress. In these last two matches, 7 goals in favor, 0 goals against. Things are starting to work. I also found them defensively much more solid. Leganes barely had any opportunities. We were very quick to steal the ball. And I thought defensively we looked a lot more cohesive, just a much more compact team. The first goal, I think, was a wonderful example of the work that Camavinga and Jude do. These are incredibly hardworking players. In that first goal, you had, incredible pressing by Camavinga, and then, of course, Jude pressing as well, managing to tap the ball. Great play by Vini, great vision to see Kylian, fantastic goal. The second goal, Fede, a fantastic canyon. I think Fede needs to take more of these shots. Sometimes these shots go in not with accuracy, but with power. This one had both, but a phenomenal goal by Fede. And the third goal, a deflection, a shot from Brahim, hits the crossbar. But again, Jude scores. Why? Because he's in the right place at the right time. And that is a function entirely of the position that he was playing. And this is the position that he should be playing. So, again, I think that the formation was absolutely key. And I think overall a very, very convincing performance. In terms of individual players, look, Courtois, we don't have much to judge him on. I would say he had a solid game, but again, it wasn't really tested. He had one moment where he sort of fobbled the ball, looked a little bit cold, but that's probably just natural coming back from an injury. But I think Courtois gave us that security that he always gives us. Fede was phenomenal. I think Fede. This kid can play anywhere. He's physical, he's powerful, he's fast. It's very hard to get away from him because even if you do, Fede will catch up with you. I thought Fede was phenomenal in the right back position. And even though Lucas Vázquez has played that position more often, I just think Fede inspires more confidence, even in a position that's not his natural position. But I think he did extremely well. Also, I noticed that when Fede would make appearances forward on the wing, it was quite a threat. He defended very well, but the times that he went up on the wing and participated in attack, I think he made a material difference and created danger. Asensio, we need to talk about this kid. Again, like I say, when you have injuries, sometimes you make discoveries. This kid played a fantastic game. This kid is a blessing. And who knew? I mean, I hadn't really heard about him until a few weeks ago. But he was very aggressive defensively. He held the offside line very, very well. So he seemed very in sync with Rudiger, very alert in terms of the offside line. And then with the ball, I thought he played very well. He made some great passes, protected the ball very well. So Asensio, I think, is a player that is probably even fit to play in Anfield. And we know how difficult a stadium that is. But Asensio is giving me a lot of confidence. Very talented kid. Very physical, and I actually have a lot of trust in him despite his young age. Rudiger, as always, phenomenal, resounding, he takes no prisoners. Rudiger was basically his old self. Again, Fran seems to, he seems to be Ancelotti's first choice now over Mendy. It's kind of becoming more of a regular pattern. I thought Fran played well. He focused more on defensive duties. He tended to leave the attacking left lane to Kylian for most of the match, but I thought he had a reasonable game. Camavinga had a spectacular match, almost a perfect match. Camavinga I have a weakness for this player, and I've mentioned it on my channel on more than one occasion. This is a player that has a quickness and an elasticity that is quite extraordinary. I mean, his ability to poke at balls, to steal balls, is extraordinary, but he's very quick in transition, very intelligent, distributes the ball well, incredibly dynamic, very quick. He's very quick on recoveries when he tracks back. I think Camavinga is just an excellent overall player. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. He just inspires more confidence than Tchouaméni, and that's just my personal opinion. You can let me know what you think in the comment section. Okay, Arda. I thought Arda was excellent. He has a very kind of calm demeanor. His decision making is excellent. I think the ball always feels very safe in his boots. He had a couple of gestures of technique that were just mouth-watering, and I'm a sucker for technical displays of skill. He had one dribble on the right where his first touch was just unbelievable, getting away from a defender, and then he had the one-on-two going into the box where he almost scored. But Arda, I think, had a very solid game. We need to see him play more, and I think he's proven that he can be a starter. And I have to say that in terms of starting from the first minute, I would choose Arda over Luka Modric. I would. Luka is phenomenally effective, but maybe not from minute one. I think Luka should come in with 20, 30 minutes left. I've said this before, and I believe it very strongly, but I think Arda had a great game. Jude had a fantastic match as well. It was once again the Jude that we're used to, right? Participating in attack, linking up the lines, very alert. His passing was just delicious. He has an incredible technique. There is something. He does remind me of Zizou in really interesting ways. His technique, the way he protects the ball, sometimes he dribbles without touching the ball. Just by shifting his body, he moves the defender out of position. That's something that Zizou used to do a lot, and Jude does it beautifully. He's just a wonderfully gifted player. I thought he had an excellent match all around. Ceballos played well. I think Ceballos played, you don't often hear me say this, but I thought Ceballos played well. He didn't hold up the ball. He has a tendency sometimes to hold the ball too much. I don't think he did that last night. He also worked very hard in defensive duties. I think Ceballos had a pretty decent match. If I had to give him a grade, I'd probably give him like a 7. I thought he did well. Okay, let's talk about the forwards. Kylian was much better. Look, it's obvious that when this guy plays on the left, he wakes up. It's clearly the position he loves. He's phenomenal and destabilizing in that position. Vini kind of played more in the middle and mostly in the right. But there was there was some switching. There was a lot more fluidity. And like I say, this formation gave Kylian more space. It gave Vini more space. And I think he had a really, really good match. He scored. He could have scored more. It's still a little bit worrisome that in one-on-one situations, Kylian still seems to be hitting the goalkeeper every time. I don't know what's going on, but I do think this will pass. Maybe it's just a confidence issue, but the skill is undeniable. I think he was quick. He was destabilizing. He was alert. He combined very well with Vini. I think Kylian had a really, really good match overall, and I think he might be turning a corner. I really do. Okay, Vini. Even when he has a relatively quiet match, he still makes the difference. Even when he plays out of position as the 9 or even on the right, he makes a difference. Even when he's fouled constantly throughout the match, he still manages to make a difference. So Vini, even in a game that was relatively more quiet than we're used to from Vini, I still thought he was absolutely critical in the plays of the goal, but in general during the course of the match, I thought Vini was fantastic, and that, like I say, this new formation, I really like what I see, and I hope that Carlos sticks with it. I do have to mention the refs briefly. I thought they were awful. How many times do you get to kick Vini without getting a yellow card? There was a possible penalty in the box that I thought was clearly a penalty. He got kicked in his support leg. The refs are never going to give those to us. They save those for Rafinha. But it's just the pattern. This pattern is kind of always there. We never get those little calls. If you watch the Celta-Barça match, it was exactly the opposite. Every one of these little calls went their way. But anyway, I thought the refs were awful, and I just needed to mention that. But in conclusion, I think this is the path. I think that we're learning that Arda needs to play more minutes. We're learning that Jude needs to play the 10. We're learning that we need a 4-4-2 so that the forwards have more space. We need a 4-4-2 because it gives us more defensive solidity. And we've also learned that Camavinga is just a better pivot than Tchouaméni. And I can tell you that when Tchouaméni comes back from injury, he's going to have to get used to playing center back, and I can see that as a likely option because Camavinga makes a difference in this role. He's just a better pivot. And I think that Ancelotti needs to stick with this. So there are some, important takeaways given the situation, but I do think that we're onto something with this formation. And I think small variations of what we did last night are probably the way forward until we get everybody back. But anyway, very encouraged with what I see. The next match is going to be very difficult. Anfield is a really, really tough place to play. And Liverpool looked really, really good this year. So it's going to be brutally difficult, but I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the match. Very encouraging stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments. But as always, thanks for joining me. I missed you guys. And as always, a la Madrid.